another episode of Pink Perspectives, powered by the Pink Table Talk. I'm your host, Dana Johnson, and with me this evening is Brandi Patterson.
Hey.
Thank you for joining me. So a little backstory regarding Brandi and myself and why I decided to invite her to the table is because we are sister-in-laws, and she is also a part of the nursing community. And as we're in this pandemic, it's very important that we support our frontline workers, and Brandi is representative of that community, and also a breast cancer survivor. So with that being said, welcome to the table.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start from the beginning. Walk me through your breast cancer diagnosis and how it affected you and your loved ones.
So the diagnosis was actually easy to walk you through. I was 40, exactly 40. It was my very first mammogram. I didn't have any lumps, things like that. I was just going because I had gone to have a physical, and my doctor was like, it's time. So with that being said, by me being, like David said, I am in the medical field. I have been so in the nursing field for 15 years at Frederick. I know that it's very common for women to have abnormalities on the 3D mammogram. So with that being said, I was one of those women, which I took it a grain of salt, like, it's all good. So I went back and I had calcifications. So my radiologist at the time was very, very adamant that it was benign. But she told me so. She told me I could wait 6 months or have a biopsy. Initially, I chose to wait the 6 months, but then so I wouldn't be a nervous Nelly, I went ahead with the biopsy. I wanted a peace of mind. So I had the biopsy, and they told me my results would come back in 24 to 48 hours, more so 48 hours. So they said the nurse will call me the next day to check on me. Okay. So the next day, it was October 16th, about 12:23, I was at my desk at work. I got a freighter number, 805, whatever the number is. So I'm like, oh, the nurse is calling to check on me to see how my incision from the biopsy was doing. Well, she was actually calling to tell me I have breast cancer. That was the absolute last thing I expected at that point. I have been on the other side of that phone many times. Given a result, I just never expected to be my very first mammogram, no lumps or bumps, no problems or concerns. I didn't expect to be on the other side receiving that news. It broke me, like instantaneously. My phone dropped to the floor. I was hysterical. So at that point, I had to call my husband at work. So he don't know what's going on. I couldn't talk. I got one of my coworkers speaking to him on the phone. He came to get me, and the whole day I wouldn't say in denial, I was just in shock, because I was like 40. I'm 40, like who has breast cancer at 40? And their very first mammogram with no lumps, no problems. So we went home. I was like anxiety through the roof. I had to call my physician, my PCP, to get something for anxiety. I was crying all day. But my dad came over. He's a nurse. He's also a nurse. And so he was at work. He left work. And he's also heavy in spirituality and religion. He prayed with me, and I didn't want to call him initially. I didn't call him initially because he has high anxiety anyway. He's like social anxiety, different things. So I didn't even want to call him initially. But I couldn't get my body to calm down. I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't like come to terms with that diagnosis. So I ended up calling my dad. And when he got there, he had this crazy calm over him. Like, I thought he was a different person. So I was expecting him to be all, emotional. And he put his hand on my knee. I was on the couch, and Trey was on this side, and my dad was right there. He put his hand on my knee, and he was like, it's gonna be okay. He's like, you're gonna get through this. And so at that time, I was also in school. I worked full time, and I was in school for my bachelor's in nursing. And so I went to work the next day.
Wow.
I went to work every day after that. I kept with my classes. I never missed a class. I never missed work. I also just kind of pushed through because at that point, I was worried about my kids. That was my first thing. So more than I was worried about myself, I was worried about my kids. I have 3 children. You know, I had one in high school at that time. The other were adults, but they're young adults, 22, 23 years old at that time, girls. I need to be there for my girls. I want to be a grandma. I don't have grandchildren. I wanted to be a grandmother. And I was determined to get through this by all means. You know, and then I also, at that point, was worried about my husband. His mother, who was had been in the past diagnosed with it, and ultimately, unfortunately, passed away from it. It was like deja vu for him. So I immediately called Dana, and I'm like, look, I need you to keep, check on him, make sure he's okay. I was more worried about them than I was worried about myself, to be honest, because that to me was a double whammy for him, and it just didn't seem fair. So I was kind of more worried about my family and, what was going on versus my diagnosis.
Whew. You recently celebrated turning 2 again on November 8th. Speak on how it feels to have a new birthday and what remission means to you.
So while turning 2 or celebrating my 2-year cancer-free milestone is definitely an important one, as a breast cancer survivor, I think I can speak for many of us that says every day is a birthday. Every day at life is a new chance, and so I'm eternally grateful for that. So it was very exciting. I had a cake, had a little celebration. I intended on having a party every year, but with COVID, that kind of cut everything short. But nonetheless, I still celebrated with the family and enjoyed it and appreciated for it.
Awesome. Thank you for your perspective. So, I want to thank you for being one of the essential workers in Milwaukee, and we truly appreciate the service and just you being on the front lines. With that being said, can you share your role within the medical field and how you've been an example of being newly diagnosed with breast cancer, but for those who may be celebrating birthdays themselves that are viewing with us today?
So being in the healthcare field, I think it's always a gift and a curse. So I've been with Freighter for 15 years, and I say it's a gift and a curse, like while I'm gainfully employed, blessed, and happy to be there, I also see the back ends of it. And so I think that caused more anxiety initially, and me knowing some of the ways the prognosis goes, that it's not always in your favor. So I think that made me a little bit, apprehensive to share things initially. I didn't tell anybody besides immediately family for the first few months until I had my surgery. I was diagnosed in October, but nobody knew until actually the day of my surgery. I guess I didn't want to be like, you get people that be like, oh, that's so sad, or, and I'm like, it's not. Like, I caught it early. While it was sad indeed, I honestly feel like I had breast cancer for a reason. Maybe to advocate for someone else, maybe to do, it's something bigger to the whole picture. So I didn't tell a lot of people initially because I didn't want that feedback, that negative feedback. Although sometimes we may want to be helpful as humans and people, we're not always that when people have, certain diagnoses and we say certain things like, are you gonna die, or what's gonna happen? And I just didn't want to hear that because I know you can have different outcomes. Every cancer is different for everybody. Everybody's body's going to react differently. No 2 people will react the same. No 2 people will require the same treatment. I mean, they may have the same treatment, but I might have done great with my treatment. I did great with radiation. I have patients, other people I've known, takes them out. I never missed a day of work during radiation. I did radiation for 5 weeks.
Wow.
I did not miss a day of work. I was tired. I felt different. I absolutely felt different, but it didn't take me out like I've seen it take some others out. So I don't base my encounter on someone else's, and I try not to do that ever with anything because it's not going to be the same.
Awesome. So, from your perspective, can you tell me a little bit about being a survivor and walking within your purpose? And I say that from the realm of thinking that as a family we participated in walks annually, whether it be the Making Strides walk through American Cancer Society or Susan G. Komen. Can you just kind of talk us through your involvement in the annual walks and what that means for you?
So besides participating with you all, you know, for your mom, your aunts that have had it, my favorite cousin had it, and she actually succumbed from the illness as well at age 43 some years ago. She died the same year as my mom. She was 43 and she had battled it for probably about 3 years. So, and my mother's sister, her maternal sister, also lost her battle in her 40s. So, while I do participate to help, you know what I mean, to support you all, I participate for my own reasons. And so in 2018, when I was diagnosed, that walk we actually did, I actually had cancer and didn't know it. So that was maybe a month before my diagnosis. So it was crazy because I'm out here walking for breast cancer and I literally had breast cancer at that moment and did not know it.
Wow.
So it's just indifferent sometimes. You know, you never know which side of the board you're on, and sometimes, you know, you have to take it for what it is and, you know, use the diagnosis as a stepping stool to do other stuff. So like I said, I definitely feel like it's more to it. I'm also in a group with other women, young ladies, and I think the youngest person in my group right now is 26 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Can you tell us a little bit about the group if you don't mind sharing a little bit?
It's actually, I found them on Facebook. It's Breast Cancer Survivor, the girls surviving after breast cancer, the girls. And it was just something I needed to do for myself because, like I said, I was so young. And I did want answers, and I wanted to see were there others like me. So I initially thought that the BRCA gene, my breast cancer gene, would be positive, but I did the testing and I was negative. So I'm like, okay, at this point, what's going on? And so they were like, you know, it's from the foods we eat, the things we ingest, come in contact with, lotions, all that different stuff. So I just found a support group to find people like me that had gone through things like me. But that support group can also be a sad place too. So I had to learn to disconnect from there, from some things, and not look at all the bad stuff on there as well.
Whew. Thank you for sharing. So finally, can you provide to our audience, from your perspective, any final thoughts or words of encouragement for women who may be newly diagnosed or in the remission stage, or just for people who are perhaps tuning in and want to be a support system for someone?
Indeed. We as women, we come with this little thing called intuition, right? Use it. We know our bodies. So don't let the doctors, radiologists, anyone tell you otherwise. If you want to pursue something, further test it. I strongly encourage you to do just that. Had I not pursued that additional testing, I would have waited 6 months. 6 months where I could have been treating that cancer, getting rid of it or anything. Use your intuition, do what you want to do, and don't, while I do have the utmost respect for healthcare providers, sometimes they're wrong, you know, and sometimes things can be missed if we as women don't advocate for ourselves. So always be an advocate for yourself and your own health. that will be my main concern. And also, breathe it out. You know, it's hard. I had some great days, but I had some horrible days as well. And I don't feel no way about it. I feel like, you know, that's to come with the territory. So I breathe it out. I analyze things. Don't compare yourself to other women, their diagnosis, their prognosis. That's not you. You are going to be you at the end of the day, and your diagnosis and prognosis is for you. Research shows that like the hormones that stress releases can actually takes a toll on your body. So when your mind is more positive, your body tends to do better with things. So that was a fun fact I got out of one of my cancer books, but it definitely made a difference for me. My positive mind kind of kept me afloat. It kept me functional, able to work, able to continue with school, able to still be a mom, able to still be a spouse. It kept me functional by not always Googling my life away or doing the other stuff.
Awesome. So as a token of my appreciation for you joining the conversation, I want to present you with this mask. And the mask is a Pink Table Talk LLC mask that you can find on our website. And it's another effort that we are using, my team and I, to pay it forward, if you will. So you'll find that as you like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, that there are many ways that the Pink Table Talk LLC is giving back to the community and helping some of the small charities that may need our efforts, whether it be to provide one of the survivors or someone who's recently being diagnosed to go in and get a special bra, or pay it forward to be able to get to one of their mammogram sessions, because people don't understand that it's more to it than just survivorship or being diagnosed. There are other things that women and men who have been diagnosed that have to go through these various steps within their journey. So I want to thank you once again for joining me for the conversation.
Indeed, anytime.
Awesome, because there may be an additional visit, so be on the lookout for that.
I'm always down for the cause.
Awesome. So thank you for joining us. Once again, I'm your host, Dana Johnson, and this is Pink Perspectives, powered by the Pink Table Talk. The Pink Table Talk will be offering our fabulously scented, custom labeled Pink Table Talk candle. Each one hand poured by Cheyenne Candles as a symbol of continuous support to the causes and awareness of breast cancer. The candle light, we'd like to say, represents an eternal flame that will burn in memory to the lives lost and in commemoration to those who continue the fight with cancer and our never-ending crusade to bring awareness. Proceeds from purchasing go to the building of the Pink Table Talk advocacy and outreach, as well as our ability to support other programs and agencies in kind. Thank you for joining us.